Welcome to the world of science fiction stories, and don't forget to like, share and subscribe my channel. Enjoy the listening. Galactic Empire panics. Humans shouldn't have ships this advanced. The vastness of space stretched before Captain Alice Morgan as she stood on the observation deck of the Earth exploration vessel Dauntless. Stars twinkled like distant jewels against the black canvas. This was humanity's first official venture beyond the solar system, and Alice felt the weight of that responsibility on her shoulders. "Captain, we're approaching the coordinates," said Tom Reed, her navigator. His voice carried the excitement they all felt. Alice nodded. "Maintain course, let's see what's out there." The Dauntless was Earth's pride, a ship built with the best technology humans could create. It wasn't fancy or elegant, but it was functional. Steel and titanium plates were welded together, practical rather than beautiful. The warp drive was new, experimental, but it worked. That was all that mattered. 2 days ago they had left Earth's solar system, now they were somewhere no human had ever been before. "Captain, I'm picking up something strange," Jack Wilson said from his station. The sensor specialist frowned at his screen. "There's a disturbance ahead, it doesn't match any pattern we know." Ellis leaned forward. "Hostile? Unknown? But it's big and getting closer." "Battle stations," Ellis ordered calmly, not looking for a fight but adding, "Let's be ready." The crew moved with practiced efficiency. The Dauntless wasn't a warship, but it had basic defenses, and Ellis hoped they wouldn't need them. Suddenly, space itself seemed to bend before them. A massive shape appeared where nothing had been seconds before. The object was clearly a ship, but unlike anything humans had designed. It was smooth and curved, shimmering with a light that seemed to come from within rather than reflecting from outside. "My God," whispered Reed, "it's beautiful." The alien ship was at least 20 times larger than the Dauntless. It hung in space before them, motionless and silent. "Captain, we're receiving a transmission," reported Diana Walsh, the communications officer. I don't understand how, but it's in English." Ellis raised an eyebrow and put it through. The main screen flickered to life. The being that appeared looked almost human but not quite. Its skin had a slight blue tint, and its eyes were larger with no visible whites, but it had 2 arms, 2 legs, and facial features in familiar places. "Greetings, vessel from Earth," the alien said. "I am Admiral Vex of the Galactic Imperium. We have been monitoring your approach." Ellis stepped forward. "I am Captain Ellis Morgan of the Earth exploration vessel Dauntless. We come in peace on a mission of exploration." Admiral Vex tilted his head slightly. "Fascinating. Your species has achieved interstellar travel much earlier than our models predicted." He paused, eyes narrowing slightly. "We would like to welcome you properly. With your permission, we will bring your vessel aboard our carrier." Ellis exchanged glances with her senior officers. This wasn't in any first contact protocol. "Admiral, we appreciate your offer, but we would prefer to maintain our position while we establish diplomatic," Captain Morgan interjected. "I understand your caution, however, we are in a shipping lane, and other vessels will be passing through soon. For safety reasons, it would be best if you docked with us. I give you my word as an Imperial Admiral that no harm will come to you or your crew." Ellis considered her options. They were far from home, in unknown territory, facing a vastly superior force. Fighting wasn't an option, running might be seen as hostile. "Very well, Admiral, we accept your invitation." Vex smiled, showing teeth that were just a bit too sharp to be human. "Excellent. Follow the guidance beam, our docking crews will assist you." The screen went dark. "Captain, are you sure about this?" asked Reed quietly. Ellis shook her head. "Not at all, but I don't see that we have much choice." She turned to address the entire bridge. "Everyone, stay sharp, be polite, be respectful, but keep your eyes open." The Dauntless followed the invisible beam toward the massive alien ship. As they drew closer, they could see that what had appeared to be a single vessel was actually a carrier ship with dozens of smaller craft attached to it. A docking bay opened like a mouth in its side, glowing with a soft blue light. "Their technology is incredible," murmured Wilson as he scanned the alien vessel. "Power readings are off the charts." The Dauntless entered the bay slowly. Inside was a cavernous space that could have held 50 ships their size. Smaller alien craft were arranged neatly in rows, each one more advanced-looking than the last. By comparison, the Dauntless looked like a child's toy made of scrap metal. As the ship settled onto the docking platform, Ellis took a deep breath. "Chief Rivera, you're with me, Lieutenant Walsh, you too. The rest of you, maintain alert status. If anything goes wrong, your priority is to get the ship back to Earth with our data." Ellis and her small team made their way to the airlock. They wore no special gear except small breather masks in case the air wasn't compatible. The outer door opened to reveal a reception committee of 6 aliens. Admiral Vex stood at the front, taller in person than he had appeared on screen. "Captain Morgan," he said with a slight bow, "welcome aboard the Imperial flagship Eternal Dominion." "Admiral Vex," Ellis replied with a matching bow, "thank you for your hospitality." Vex gestured to the aliens beside him. "These are my senior officers. We represent the Galactic Imperium, a coalition of over 300 species spanning thousands of star systems." Ellis introduced her own team, trying not to feel overwhelmed. Humanity had just discovered they weren't alone, and now they were learning they were very, very late to the party. "If you'll follow me," Vex said, "we've prepared accommodations for you and your crew, and we would be honored if you would join us for a formal reception." As they walked through the alien ship, Ellis couldn't help but stare. The corridors seemed to be made of a single piece of flowing material, lights appeared when needed without any visible source. Other aliens of various forms moved about, some humanoid, others wildly different. "Your ship is impressive," Ellis said, trying to make conversation. Vex looked back with an expression she couldn't quite read. "Thank you, though the Eternal Dominion is actually quite old by our standards, over a century in service," he replied. Ellis tried not to show her shock, the alien technology was centuries beyond Earth's best. "Admiral, how did you know to speak our language?" she asked carefully. Vex made a sound that might have been a chuckle. "We've been monitoring your world for some time, Captain. Your broadcasts reach farther than you might think. We've learned much about Earth that was both reassuring and disturbing." "Then you knew we were coming?" "Not exactly." Vex stopped walking and turned to face her directly. "We detected your warp signature, which was unexpected. Most species don't achieve faster-than-light travel until much later in their development." The way he said it made Ellis uneasy, as if they had done something wrong. "Is that a problem?" she asked. Vex's large eyes studied her for a long moment. "Not a problem, Captain, more of a puzzle. One we're very interested in solving." He gestured forward again. "Come, your quarters await. Tomorrow you will meet the Imperial Science Council. They have many questions about your remarkable little ship." As they continued down the corridor, Ellis couldn't shake the feeling that there was something the Admiral wasn't telling her, something about the Dauntless had surprised these advanced aliens, and she wasn't sure if that was good or bad. What she did know was that humanity had just stepped onto a much larger stage, and there was no going back. Morning came with artificial precision aboard the Eternal Dominion. Ellis woke to find soft lighting gradually brightening her quarters, mimicking an Earth sunrise. The room assigned to her was spacious and comfortable, though distinctly alien in its curves and materials that seemed to shift slightly when not directly observed. A chime sounded and a voice spoke in perfect English. "Captain Morgan, Admiral Vex requests your presence on the engineering deck in 1 hour. Breakfast has been prepared based on your biological requirements." Ellis sat up, running a hand through her short brown hair. "Thank you. Please inform the Admiral I'll be there after a quick shower in water that felt somehow different, cleaner, perhaps." Ellis found breakfast waiting. The food looked like Earth cuisine but tasted just slightly off, as if made by someone who had only read about eggs and toast without ever tasting them. She met with her crew briefly before heading to the engineering deck. They had all experienced similar accommodations, comfortable but strange. "They're scanning everything, Captain," Chief Rivera reported quietly. "Our quarters, our bodies, probably our thoughts, if they can stay alert, but friendly," Ellis reminded them. "Remember, we represent all of humanity now." Admiral Vex was waiting when Ellis arrived at the engineering section. Beside him stood a slender alien with six-fingered hands and skin that shimmered with a metallic gleam. "Captain Morgan, may I present Lead Engineer Trell. He oversees all technical innovation for this sector of the Imperium." Trell's eyes were entirely black, with no visible iris or pupil, and they fixed on Ellis with unnerving intensity. "Fascinating," Trell said, his voice higher and more melodic than Vex. "You are the operator of the vessel." "I'm the captain," Ellis corrected gently. "I command the ship and its crew." "Yes, of course," Trell nodded. "Captain, with your permission, we would like to examine your vessel. Its design is of great interest to us." Ellis hesitated. The Dauntless contained Earth's most advanced technology, but then again, compared to what she'd seen here, it was like bringing a stone axe to a laser fight. "I'd like some of my engineers present during the examination," she said. "Of course," Vex agreed. "We would expect nothing less." They walked through corridors bustling with aliens of various species until they reached a massive hangar bay. The Dauntless sat in the center, looking small and crude compared to the sleek alien craft surrounding it. A team of beings in what appeared to be technical uniforms moved around it, taking readings with handheld devices. Rivera and two other human engineers were already there, watching the aliens carefully. "They haven't tried to enter yet, Captain," Rivera reported. "Just external scans so far." Trell approached the Dauntless with something like reverence. Such an unusual design, so physical, he observed, his six-fingered hand hovering over the hull without quite touching it. "May we see the propulsion system?" Ellis nodded to Rivera, who used his access code to open the main engineering hatch. The human and alien teams entered the ship together. The Dauntless engine room was cramped, hot, and loud compared to the silent efficiency of the alien ship. Pipes and conduits ran in organized chaos around the central work core, which hummed with energy. Trell froze at the threshold, his metallic skin actually changing color slightly. This is your faster-than-light drive?" he asked, his melodic voice rising. "Yes," Rivera said, pride evident in his voice, "our first successful human warp engine generates a field that bends spacetime." Trell interrupted, moving forward with scanning equipment. "No, that's not possible." The alien moved quickly around the engine room, taking readings, his movements becoming increasingly agitated. Other alien engineers followed, their expressions showing confusion or disbelief. "Is there a problem?" Ellis asked Vex, who was watching from the doorway. His large eyes were fixed on the work. "I'm not an engineer, Captain, but even I can see that something is unexpected." After several minutes of increasingly frantic scanning, Trell approached Ellis and Vex. "Admiral, this ship cannot do what you claim," he said flatly. "The energy output is insufficient, the field generators are primitive, the containment systems are," he seemed to search for a word, "decorative, at best." Ellis bristled. "I assure you, Engineer Trell, this ship brought us from Earth. It works." "No," Trell insisted, "it cannot. By all physical laws we understand, this vessel is incapable of faster-than-light travel. It should tear itself apart at the first attempt." Rivera stepped forward, his face flushed. "Now wait just a minute." Ellis held up a hand to silence him. "What exactly are you suggesting, Engineer Trell?" The alien's black eyes seemed to grow even darker. "There are only two possibilities, Captain. Either you are using technology you have not shown us," he trailed off, looking at Vex, "or, what?" Ellis pressed. Vex stepped between them. "I think that's enough technical discussion for now, Captain Morgan. The Imperial Science Council is eager to meet with you and your crew." Perhaps we should proceed there. Ellis glanced at Rivera, who gave a small shrug. Whatever had upset the aliens about their engine, neither human understood it very well. "Admiral, lead the way," she said. As they left the Dauntless, Ellis noticed more aliens had gathered. They watched the humans with expressions ranging from curiosity to what might have been fear. Whispers followed them down the corridors. The Science Council chamber was a circular room with tiered seating like a small amphitheater. 12 aliens of various species sat in the upper tier while Vex led Ellis and her officers to seats in the center. Trell hurried in shortly after, conferring quietly with several council members before taking his own seat. An elderly-looking alien with pale, translucent skin stood. "I am Head Counselor Mara, Captain Morgan. We welcome you formally to the Galactic Imperium." Ellis rose and bowed slightly. "On behalf of Earth and humanity, we thank you for your welcome. We have examined your vessel," Mara continued, "and we find ourselves puzzled. Your technology is significantly less advanced than we would expect from a species capable of reaching us. We're a young spacefaring civilization," Ellis acknowledged, "but we're quick learners." "That is not what concerns us," Mara said, her voice gentle but her eyes hard. "Engineer Trell reports that your ship is technically incapable of the journey you claim to have made." A murmur ran through the chamber with respect. "Counselor, we did make that journey. We left Earth 5 days ago and arrived here using our warp drive." "Then you have technology you are concealing," another counselor called out. "Hidden systems our scans cannot detect." "We've hidden nothing," Ellis insisted. "You've had complete access to the Dauntless. Then explain how a ship with insufficient power generation, minimal shielding, and primitive field mathematics managed to traverse interstellar space without destroying itself and everyone aboard." The chamber fell silent. "I can't explain it in your terms," Ellis said after a moment. "I'm not a physicist, but the simple fact is, we're here." Mara leaned forward. "Yes, you are here, and that, Captain Morgan, is what concerns us most of all." She tapped a control, and a holographic image appeared in the center of the chamber, a detailed scan of a human body rotating slowly. "We would like to begin a thorough study of human physiology," Mara said, "with your permission, of course." Ellis felt a chill that had nothing to do with the room's temperature. "May I ask why?" Vex cleared his throat. "Captain, if your ship cannot explain your arrival, then perhaps your people can. We mean no harm, but we must understand." Ellis looked around the chamber at the aliens, who were now staring at the humans with a mixture of scientific curiosity and something darker, fear. "What exactly do you think we are?" she asked quietly. Mara exchanged glances with the other counselors before answering. "We don't know, Captain Morgan, and in the Imperium's long history, the unknown has rarely been benign." Ellis stared at the ceiling of her quarters, sleep evading her despite the late hour. After the tense meeting with the Science Council, she had reluctantly agreed to let her crew undergo basic medical scans. The aliens had promised the procedures would be non-invasive, but their intense interest in human biology worried her. A soft knock at her door interrupted her thoughts. "Come in," she called. Sitting up, Commander Jack Wilson entered, looking as tired as she felt. As the Dauntless' second-in-command and chief science officer, he had spent hours with the alien researchers. "Captain, we need to talk," he said quietly. "Something strange happened during the tests." Ellis gestured to a chair. "Tell me." Wilson sat heavily. "They were monitoring our brain activity while showing us images of space, stars, navigation charts. When they showed me images of warp fields and space distortions, the aliens got very excited. They started talking fast in their own language, calling others over." "What happened?" "I'm not sure exactly," Wilson frowned, "but they kept asking me if I could feel the images, and the weird thing is, I think I could. It was like looking at a picture of food and being able to taste it." Ellis leaned forward. "What do you mean?" "The warp field diagrams," Wilson explained, "were not just pictures to me. I could sense the direction of them, the flow. It's hard to explain. He ran a hand through his dark hair. They showed similar images to Rivera and Walsh with the same reaction, something about how our brains process spatial distortions is different from theirs. A second knock came at the door. This time it was Lieutenant Diana Walsh, communications specialist. "Sorry to interrupt, Captain, but I thought you should know, I overheard two alien techs talking. They didn't realize I was there." Her expression was grave. They were discussing human brainwave patterns. One said, "We're showing activity in parts of the brain they don't even have." Ellis felt a chill. "Did they see you?" "No, I left quietly and came straight here." Wilson stood suddenly. "Captain, I think I need to show you something in the Dauntless navigation room." Ellis and Walsh exchanged glances, then followed Wilson through the quiet corridors of the alien ship. The few Imperium crew they passed gave them a wide berth, watching with what now seemed like obvious caution. The Dauntless sat alone in the bay, a small piece of home amidst the alien technology. They entered silently and made their way to the bridge, where Wilson led them to the navigation station. "When we were designing the warp navigation interface," he explained, "we couldn't use traditional coordinates, space bends and warp, so standard mapping doesn't work." He activated the system, and a 3D display lit up, showing a strange shifting pattern of light. "This is how we navigate in warp. We call it intuitive pathing. The navigator, usually me, looks at these patterns and feels which way to go. It sounds crazy, but it works." Ellis stared at the display. "I've seen you use this, but I always thought it was just a complicated computer system." "The computer helps visualize it," Wilson admitted, "but the actual navigation decisions, that's all human intuition. We couldn't program it." The realization dawned slowly on Ellis. "Are you saying we're navigating through warped space by gut feeling?" "Exactly," Wilson nodded. "And after today, I think that's what has the aliens so worked up, they don't do it that way." The door to the bridge slid open, and they turned to find Admiral Vex and Engineer Trell standing there. "I apologize for the intrusion, Captain," Vex said calmly, "but our sensors detected activity on your vessel." Ellis straightened. "We were just checking our systems." Admiral Vex moved forward. "Engineer Trell," he said, his black eyes fixed on the navigation display, "this pattern, this is how you navigate in faster-than-light travel." Wilson looked to Ellis, who nodded. "Yes," he admitted, "we call it intuitive pathing." Trell's 6 fingers moved in what might have been nervousness. "And how does the system calculate course corrections through spacetime distortions?" Wilson hesitated. "It doesn't. I look at the patterns and make adjustments based on what feels right." The silence that followed was profound. Trell and Vex exchanged looks that even Ellis could recognize as alarm. Perhaps Vex said carefully, "We could continue this discussion in a more comfortable setting. The head counselor would be very interested in this technique." Ellis had had enough mystery. "Admiral, I think it's time you told us what's going on. Why is our ship and our navigation method causing such concern?" Vex seemed to consider his words carefully. "Captain Morgan, in the Imperium's history spanning over 20,000 years and hundreds of species, faster-than-light travel has always required precise mathematical calculations, massive energy expenditure, and advanced field generators, so our approach is different." Ellis shrugged. "Different species, different methods." "No, Trell," interjected Trell, "you don't understand. Your approach should not work. Your ship cannot generate a stable warp field. Your computers cannot process the calculations needed for safe passage by all known science. Your method is impossible, and yet here we are." "Yes," Ellis said firmly. Vex said quietly, "Here you are, a species who travels through space by feeling." He gestured to the door, "Please, the head counselor is waiting." They followed the aliens back through the ship to a new section, a laboratory filled with advanced equipment. Head Counselor Mira stood beside a large display showing human brain scans next to those of various alien species. "Captain Morgan," she greeted them, I believe we have made a significant discovery. The display zoomed in on a section of the human brain that glowed with activity. The same region in the alien brains was dark. This area, Mara explained, is dormant in every known sentient species except humans. When exposed to spatial distortion patterns, it becomes highly active. What does that mean? Ellis asked. Trell stepped forward. It means, Captain, that humans possess a natural ability to perceive and interact with the fabric of spacetime directly. You are not using technology to travel faster than light, you are using your minds. Ellis blinked. That's absurd. We built the warp drive, it works on physical principles. Your warp drive, Mara said gently, is little more than a crude focus for abilities. Your species doesn't yet understand, the technology isn't creating the warp field, you are. Wilson looked stunned. That's why the navigation interface works. It's not the computer interpreting the data, it's me interpreting space itself. Precisely, Trell confirmed. Your ship isn't advanced, it's incredibly primitive, but you, Commander Wilson, and all humans are manipulating reality in ways our species required thousands of years of technological development to achieve. The implications hit Ellis like a physical blow. Are you saying humans have some kind of psychic power? She asked. I would call it an evolutionary adaptation, Mara corrected, but effectively, yes, your species can instinctively tap into the fundamental forces of the universe. Vex's expression had grown increasingly concerned. You must understand what this means, Captain. Your people have achieved, in their evolutionary infancy, what took the founding races of the Imperium millennia of scientific advancement, and you've done it unconsciously. Is that bad? Walsh asked. The aliens exchanged looks again. It means, Mara said slowly, that your potential is concerning. If humans learn to consciously control this ability, to fully harness it, there would be no limit to what you could achieve, she paused, or what damage you could cause. Ellis understood suddenly why the aliens had been so guarded, so careful around them. They weren't just curious, they were afraid. Word spread quickly through the Eternal Dominion. Despite attempts at secrecy, rumors about the humans and their impossible abilities reached every corner of the massive ship. Aliens whispered in corridors and stared openly when Ellis and her crew passed by. 3 days after the revelation about human abilities, Ellis was summoned to a meeting of the full Imperial Council. This time, the chamber was filled with hundreds of aliens representing dozens of species. The atmosphere was tense as Ellis, Wilson, and Walsh were led to the center of the room. High Counselor Mira stood at the head of the assembly, flanked by Admiral Vex and several officials Ellis hadn't met before. Captain Morgan, Mara began formally, the Imperial Council has convened an emergency session to address the matter of Earth and its people. Ellis nodded, maintaining a calm exterior despite her growing unease. We appreciate your attention to this matter. Humanity looks forward to peaceful relations with the Imperium. A large reptilian alien rose from the council seats. Peaceful relations. Your very existence threatens the balance of power that has maintained peace for 10,000 years. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. Mara raised a hand for silence. Counselor Drav speaks with passion, but let us proceed with reason, Captain Morgan. We have analyzed all data regarding human physiology and your vessel's capabilities. The implications are significant. A holographic display appeared in the center of the chamber, showing a timeline. It began with a crude representation of Earth and extended forward, showing rapid technological advancement, culminating in a visualization of humans spreading throughout the galaxy. Our predictive models, Mara continued, suggest that within 100 years, a mere heartbeat in galactic terms, humanity could achieve capabilities exceeding our most advanced technologies simply by becoming aware of and developing your innate abilities. Ellis watched the display with a mixture of pride and concern. Surely, advancement and growth aren't threats in themselves, said another counselor, a floating, jellyfish-like being. When the advancement occurs at unprecedented rates and comes with the ability to manipulate fundamental forces without technological safeguards, yes, it is a threat. The chamber erupted in voices, some arguing for caution, others for immediate action. Silence fell as Vex's voice cut through the noise. We face a decision that will echo through Imperium history. We must choose our path carefully. Ellis felt Wilson tense beside her. He leaned close and whispered, "Captain, they're talking about containing or eliminating us." Ellis nodded slightly. She had understood that from the beginning. "Admiral Vex," she said, keeping her voice steady, "may I address the council?"